budget in a series of local radio interviews this morning, as Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng says the government is sticking to their economic plan.
Do you have a message for the markets, Mr. Kwarteng?
Absolutely, we're sticking to the growth plan and we're going to help people with energy bills. That's my two top priorities.
We'll have an update on London's weather in the next 10 minutes, plus the London-based singer-songwriter who was featured on Love Island and shortlisted to play at Glastonbury will be speaking to Julie Fox. And we'll speak to Finn Whitehead, star of Christopher Nolan's 2017 epic war film Dunkirk, on his new play Addictive Beat, coming to South London. First tonight, though, the Mayor of London has received a formal summons for the first time in history. The London Assembly Police and Crime Committee has a unique summons power which has been invoked after Sadiq Khan was found to have breached due process in the lead-up to Dame Cressida Dick's departure as Metropolitan Police Commissioner. The committee voted 5-4 in favour of the motion, which compels Mr Khan to attend the committee on the 16th of November. Sir Tom Windsor, who wrote the report, which stated the mayor committed an abuse of the power conferred upon him, has also been invited to attend. The Windsor report also found Dame Cressida faced political pressure to resign. Well, Mr Khan has previously called the Windsor report clearly biased and said it ignores the facts, adding on the former commissioner's watch, trust in the police fell to record lows following a litany of terrible scandals. Well, after the summons, Sadiq Khan is required to attend the committee by law and could face a fine or a maximum sentence of 3 months in prison if he fails to attend. Experts have warned that more than 75,000 children are stuck in temporary accommodation in the capital, as the cost of living crisis could see an increase in homelessness. The two reports, one by University College London and the other by the Centre for London think tank, said that a lack of homes and the shortfall in housing benefit allowances is creating a hidden homelessness crisis and affecting children's physical and mental health. The report said that the benefit should be increased to at least half of the average rental rate in each area. Well, latest government statistics showed there were over 38,000 households with children in temporary accommodation in London in the first quarter of this year, which makes up almost 60% of all those in temporary accommodation across the country. On to some of today's national headlines, and Prime Minister Liz Truss has defended last week's mini-budget in a series of uncomfortable local radio interviews this morning. The PM said tax cutting, whilst increasing borrowing, shows she is prepared to take controversial and difficult decisions to get the economy moving, and that growth will not come overnight. Well, there were very few reassuring words for households after Truss had been silent until now, following the fallout from Friday's economic policy announcements, which saw the pound tumble against the dollar, multiple mortgage lenders pull out, and intervention by the Bank of England to buy up bonds to protect pensions. Well, the ex-Bank of England Governor, Mark Carney, has accused the government of undercutting UK economic institutions. Well, the Treasury is rejecting a U-turn on the plans despite unprecedented calls by the IMF to re-evaluate them.
So I think Mark Carney has definitely got a point about the UK government undercutting UK economic institutions. There's been a pattern, probably since Brexit really, of governments being sceptical about the kind of expert advice they're given and being a bit nonplussed by some of the ideas coming to them from their advisors. So under the Truss administration, there's been a move to question the Treasury orthodoxy and to perhaps set themselves against the Treasury orthodoxy. And that was certainly part of the presentation of the mini budget last week. In addition to which, she and Kwarteng chose not to accept the offer from the Office for Budget Responsibility for an independent forecast and analysis of the very large fiscal package they were proposing, and they didn't want any advice on what this might mean for UK growth or the UK economy. As to why they're doing that, partly I think it's political. They see themselves as forecasting a different approach to the economy from that which has gone before, and they see Bank of England, the OBR, the IMF maybe as kind of the alternative approach to the economic policy they want to reject, and they think theirs is a radical different vision based on the advice they're taking from their economic advisors.
Now back to the capital, and it's that time of the year again where celebrities head to the brokerage firm BCG to take part in their annual charity day at Canary Wharf in commemoration of their 658 colleagues and the 61 Euro broker employees who were lost on 9/11. Usually, of course, this would take place on the 11th of September to coincide with the anniversary of the terrorist attack, but it was moved to today due to the period of mourning following the Queen's death. Well, ex-England and Manchester United star Rio Ferdinand was one such celeb taking part, alongside Sadie Frost.
No, I've been here a few times. Always good, always lively. Loads and loads of football fans here as well, so it's always welcoming.
I heard you on doing a trade earlier. Was he a football fan? He said he met you a few years ago?
Yeah, he said he met me in a nightclub actually, so it's a bit early to start doing conversations, but it was, no, listen, we're getting trades done, money's getting raised, so it's fantastic.
You know that we have a picture together at the raffle in London.
Yeah, what raffle? I've been to a few raffles.
Raffle the club.
Oh, raffle.
The club!
Every time you come here, everyone's obviously excitable. They understand what it's about. It's a big moment in the calendar. Loads of charities, like you can see here, are going to benefit from it. So you can't do nothing but happy and kind of bubbly when you come in here today.
I wanted to ask you about your chosen charity. Is it one that's close to your heart?
Yeah, it's a well-being of women. A lot of research and education processes that go in, and they're implemented through that charity. I've obviously got a lot of women who are dear to me and my family, so being part of a charity like that is definitely of importance.
Made some big trades already, yeah. I've been smashing the tens of millions of dollars worth of trade. No, not yet. I'm just really worried about cocking it up because I've got absolutely no idea what I'm doing. So you sit down to do a trade and I go, right, say this. And I'm just thinking I'm going to get the words wrong. I'm great with an autocue. I'm useless if I've got to try and make it up on the top of the head.
I think it's a really important time more than ever, and the sad thing is obviously when people come under more pressure. I mean, I'm noticing within fields of my work or industry, people are just cutting back, and charities are the first thing often people don't support. But something like today, I think when it's such a fantastic infrastructure and it's been going for so long, and people really do like the way this is operated, it does raise money. It works. This today does work, which has been proven, which I think is great.
There we go. Well, let's take a look at London's weather for you now. It's a cloudy evening before a clear sky emerges overnight, with temperatures reaching single figures around 7 degrees. The chilly weather continues tomorrow as it's set for heavy rain in the latter stages of the day. Looking ahead to the weekend, we'll see some sun again from behind the clouds, with both Saturday and Sunday promising sunny intervals with highs of around 18. Now, talking about the chilly weather, brace yourselves, as we're well aware we're still in September, but Hamley's Toy Shop has announced its top 10 toys for Christmas. The iconic shop, with its flagship on Regent Street, have made the announcement earlier than usual due to a cost of living crisis expected to continue into the winter. Well, we heard from Hamley's Joe Toome.
So we've had a really, really good summer. We've had lots of good footfall. That's kind of been supported by in-store events and promotions. What we've done is we've tried to prepare families by releasing Christmas toys early, by releasing our press release early, so to help parents prepare for Christmas. So we have over 50,000 toys in store. We've got toys starting from £2.50 that kind of cater to every age, every interest, from toddlers up to 18 plus. We also have a range of prices in the top 10 toys. We have toys starting from £22, and we just really want to focus that these are investment toys that you will be playing with far beyond the festive season.
Well, just before the break, let's bring you this. If you're not quite ready for Christmas and perhaps want to hold on to summer, Kew Gardens has transformed with a series of art and horticultural installations for their Mexico Festival. Inside the garden's temperate house, which is the world's largest Victorian glass house, Mexican artist Bettisby Romero, designer Fernando Lapuse, and UK award-winning garden designer John Wheatley have created works that reflect the beauty and colour of Mexican culture and its deep connection with plants and the natural world. Well, that's on until the end of October. Lovely stuff there, but it's time for a short break now. But when we come back, London Live's paper reviewer Matt Withers will be here in the studio with a roundup of this week's local papers, including a 20-year-long row over a bus route in Hampstead.
From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live.
Welcome back to London Live News. Let's turn our attention to the stories a little bit closer to home as we take a look at the local news with our resident paper reviewer, Matt Withers. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with an interesting new image that's been released of the lady in the Thames.
Yeah, this is an interesting one and a new one to me, actually. This is from the South London Press, and it's the Lady in the Thames image released on the 45th anniversary of death. And this is a woman who was found dead on stairs leading to the Thames in 1977, and she was never identified. She was known in the media as the Lady of the Thames. She was found at the bottom of the stairs leading to the South Bank by Vauxhall Bridge. And the missing persons charity Locate International released an image of the woman on the 45th anniversary of discovery, hoping that the image will trigger memories for anyone living and working in London during that decade who may have known her. And they're also releasing it to try and jog the memories of people who were around at the time, particularly saying that 1977 was the year of the late Queen's Silver Jubilee and the death of Elvis Presley. And they're saying because they were such big cultural moments, perhaps people's memory may be triggered by this at the moment.
So that's interesting. It was new to me as well. How likely do you think that this is, that it might jog somebody's memory?
I mean, I have to say, it seems very unlikely. I'd never heard of this case, and I did a little bit of research yesterday, and I tried to find out a bit more, and it's very, very difficult to find anything from the time. It was so long ago, and you would think that she would have been located by now. It's remarkable, really, that no family have come forward. It seems to be a very smartly dressed woman. She was found wearing black trousers, a blue overcoat, black shoes, very smart striped blouse. So it would seem to be somebody that people would know, perhaps. You know, this perhaps not an itinerant figure. So it seems very strange, but you have to say 45 years on, this seems like a long shot.
Absolutely. Well, if anybody does recognise her or have any information, what should they do?
They're able to go to Locate International, who are the people who are trying to find anything they can at the moment.
Okay, right. Well, now let's move on. We'll look at this from the News Shopper. A man underpaid his council tax and has been summoned to court, but it wasn't exactly significantly underpaid, was it?
No, absolutely not. No, you read the News Shopper headline, Bromley man who accidentally underpaid council tax faces court, and you might think, well, fair enough. Have rules in place in a society, but he underpaid his council tax by £2, and he now faces a bill of more than £700 after his local authority summoned him to court. This is John Pritchard, who lives in Bromley. He got this court summons letter earlier this month. Included a hearing date and a bill for £618, as well as costs of £101.50. So he looked at where the underpayment came from and checked his old council tax payments, and it turned out that he looked at the wrong bill, which was £2 differently, and paid the amount from the previous month. And he's tried to pay the £2 to resolve the issue, but his payment plan has been cancelled by the council. He said I'd be willing to pay it if they allowed me to, but in the summons it says that only paying the full amount will stop the action. I've tried phoning the council, but every time you phone you wait and then get cut off because nobody's there to answer the call. And he sent an email but just got an automatic reply saying it'd be 10 days until they look at it. I suspect there'll be people watching who have had interactions with their council which have probably gone in a similar way.
Well, you know, we are in a cost of living crisis, so these mistakes can really hurt people at a very difficult time. You know, you underpaid £2 and you get a bill for £700. Have the council responded at all?
Well, the News Shopper went to the council and asked for comment and got pretty much the same response as Mr. Pritchard, none at all.
Right. Well, OK, hopefully that mistake is rectified.
Absolutely.
Right. We'll move on to the third story now. Now, in this article, it's described as an epic saga, although I'm not entirely sure anybody will be making a movie out of this. But there has been a long-running row over a bus route in Hampstead.
Yes, this is a very Hampstead story. It's from the Camden New Journal, and you're right, this is an argument that's been going on for 20 years over where the number 168 bus concludes its journey. This is a bus that goes from Old Kent Road to Southend Green. For years, people have argued about where the double-decker should stop off. It stopped off a place which is very easy for people to get to, but the town hall is canvassing opinion over plans to permanently close a slip road which was used by the buses to create what they call an alfresco streetery, which is an awful portmanteau of street and eatery, to be used by cafes. Now, this happened during the pandemic, where they allowed cafes to put their chairs outside, moved where the buses stopped to make it easier for people to eat outside during that weird period where you could eat outside, but only if it was a Scotch egg with a member of your family. But they want to continue doing that now. And what campaigners say is this is actually revealing a schism between businesses, wealthier homeowners, and those who live in the more affordable streets nearby. Those people who perhaps, you know, don't worry so much about having an expensive eatery, but want to make it easier for them to get to public transport, are being moved out for companies like Starbucks to come in and get more business, is the claim that they're making.
Well, have we heard from any residents then in the area who do use the buses?
Yeah, they've spoken to the Agincourt Road resident John Wilson. He's the person who calls it a battle for the soul of Southend Green. He says it's an attempt to gentrify the place. This vision of Southend Green has been some kind of upmarket destination with high property prices, rather than what it is, a transport hub with lots of people living here who use public transport.
Absolutely right. Well, let's finish on our last story then. We do love stories about unusual items selling at auctions for lots of money. Tell us what we're looking at this week.
Yes, this is from the My London website, and it's Peter Stringfellow's Golden Throne. And it's true, Peter Stringfellow people will no doubt remember as the very vivacious nightclub owner. And now his literal Golden Throne has been sold at auction. This was the impressive chair, as it's described here, that once took pride of place in the establishment Stringfellows, which he would sit on personally while he entertained his VIP guests. But it's now been sold for £3,600, described here as the ornate chair, which was painted gold and covered in black velvet, had dent marks left by the nightclub legend's signature rings, adding a touch of character, which is, I guess, a matter of opinion. His son Scott, who is the person who sold it, said, on the right arm, the nose of the lion is worn and damaged. That's where Dad used to tap his ring. Later on, after he remarried for the third time, his left-hand ring also began to make a mark on the chair. So they're really imbuing the marks that Peter Stringfellow's rings made on this chair with a quite iconic quality.
There is that saying, each to their own.
Absolutely.
Matt Withers, thank you so much for joining us on London Live News, a roundup of the local papers there. Now, come tomorrow, the government's auto-enrollment pension scheme will have been in place for 10 years. But with 45% of UK adults now paying less attention to their retirement pot, has it been a success? The data shows many still don't understand how the scheme works, with many worried about how the cost of living crisis will affect them. Well, Kate Smith, who's head of pensions at Aegon, spoke to me earlier to find out how it's done over the last decade and if it needs changing.
10 years ago, not enough people were saving for their retirement, for their future. So it was seen as complicated, too hard to do, and also fewer employers were offering pensions to all of their workforce. So it was a really massive risk that when people came up to retirement, they wouldn't have enough money to live on, so they wouldn't be able to retire. So something had to be done. Pension saving had been in decline. So then back in 2012, the government introduced its flagship policy to change all of this, and that was pensions auto-enrolment. And here, employers automatically enrolled their employees into a workplace pension scheme as soon as they started a job. And what's more is employers had to pay a pension contribution, so all employees paid some money and the employer paid in some money as well. So the good thing about auto-enrolment, is based on what's called inertia. So you just go with the flow, things just happen. You don't make any decisions, there's no complicated forms, you're just in, and it's all done for you as well.
Absolutely. So it was a quite important and significant policy that was put in place. But I wonder, do people, especially young people, really think about their pension? Because I suppose younger people probably think, well, I'm not going to retire till I'm very, very old the way things are going.
That's right. And yes, you're right. The under 30s in particular don't really think about their pension because that's so many years off. It could be 30, 40, even 50 years off really these days. So they don't. So, and as you get older, obviously people do begin to think about pensions when they get older. But the thing is, the earlier the save, the better, because your money's worth more, is invested for longer. It's the magic of compounding and all of that. So it's great to get people when they're young. So the auto-enrollment policy, how it's designed at the moment, is as soon as you're 22, you're put into that pension scheme. It's your employer's workplace pension scheme, and you benefit from the employer contribution you pay into. So that's good. So it's all done for you. They don't necessarily have to think about it. And of course, I would like younger people and everybody to be more engaged about their pension. And that's what the white paper that we did with the University of Edinburgh, there's Aegon and University of Edinburgh working together, that's what we were looking at, really. So actually whether auto-enrolment has actually made a difference to people's saving psychology, whether it's helped or hindered.
And what did that data show then, especially for people living here in the capital?
Yes, it showed a number of things. So I'll just reel off some stats for you. So unfortunately, not enough Londoners, like the rest of the UK population, don't know enough about auto-enrolment, let alone pensions. So we found that 41% of Londoners didn't know how auto-enrolment works, and around the same number didn't even realise the employer made a contribution or how much it was. So that's the 3% I mentioned earlier. So yeah, that was a little bit concerning, to be honest with you. Though concerning, but not, not overly a surprise.
Do you think that people are going to start paying more attention to their pensions now that we have been hit really quite significantly by this cost of living crisis?
Yes, but probably not in the way that we anticipated a few weeks ago. Yes, people will probably, it's a really challenging times we live in for everybody. Let's be honest about that. So people will be looking at their budgets and see where they can cut back. And so they might bring pensions into that if they realise that they're actually saving. So they might think, actually, can I afford this anymore? Should I be paying less? Should I stop for a little while? And obviously that is a concern, because, you're doing almost like self-harm for your future if you stop. But I do realise that for many people, that might be the only choice they've got. So if you are thinking about reducing your contributions, the one thing I would say is talk to your employer. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you opt out of pension saving, it is very likely you will lose that employer contribution as well. So you'll just see the employer contribution as a sort of pay rise. You will lose that. So not only you stop your own contribution, you lose the employer one. So why not have a conversation with your employer saying, actually, I can't afford to pay pensions over the next 6 months, when the winter's here. But I do intend to restart hopefully next summer, because we're hoping the cost of living crisis won't be with us forever. Would you be able to keep on paying your contribution? And so like my savings, continue to grow. So it's really worth having that conversation.
There we are. That was Kate Smith, who's head of pensions at Aegon. You're watching London Live News with Helena Wardier. A reminder of our top story coming up after the break. Plus, did you know that buying a bunch of flowers comes with a carbon footprint? 2 North London farmer florists tell us about making the flower market more sustainable.
From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos over the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos over the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live.
Welcome back to London Live News. A reminder of our top story. The Mayor of London has received a formal summons for the first time in history. The London Assembly Police and Crime Committee used their unique summons power after Sadiq Khan was found to have breached due process in the lead up to Dame Cressida Dick's departure as Metropolitan Police Commissioner. The committee voted 5-4 in favour of the motion, which compels Mr Khan to attend the committee on the 16th of November. Sir Tom Windsor, who wrote the report, which stated the mayor had committed an abuse of power, has also been invited to attend. The report also found Dame Cressida faced political pressure to resign. Well, Mr Khan has previously called the report clearly biased and said it ignores the facts, adding on the former commissioner's watch, trust in the police fell to record lows following a litany of terrible scandals. Well, after the summons, Sadiq Khan could face a fine or a maximum sentence of 3 months in prison if he fails to attend the committee. Experts have warned that more than 75,000 children are stuck in temporary accommodation in the capital as the cost of living crisis could see an increase in homelessness. The two reports, one by University College London and the other by the Centre for London think tank, said that a lack of homes and the shortfall in housing benefit allowances is creating a hidden homelessness crisis and affecting children's physical and mental health. The report said that the benefit should be increased to at least half of the average rental rate in each area. Well, latest government statistics showed there were over 38,000 households with children in temporary accommodation in London in the first quarter of this year, which makes up almost 60% of all those in temporary accommodation across the country. Prime Minister Liz Truss has defended last week's mini-budget in a series of uncomfortable local radio interviews this morning. The PM said tax cutting, whilst increasing borrowing, shows she is prepared to take controversial and difficult decisions to get the economy moving, and that growth will not come overnight. Well, there were very few reassuring words for households after Truss had been silent until now, following the fallout from Friday's economic policy announcements, which saw the pound tumble against the dollar, multiple mortgage lenders pull out, and intervention by the Bank of England to buy up bonds to protect pensions. Well, the ex-Bank of England Governor Mark Carney has accused the government of undercutting UK economic institutions. Well, the Treasury is rejecting a U-turn on the plans despite unprecedented calls by the IMF to re-evaluate them.
So I think Mark Carney has definitely got a point about the UK government undercutting UK economic institutions. There's been a pattern, probably since Brexit really, of governments being sceptical about the kind of expert advice they're given and being a bit nonplussed by some of the ideas coming to them from their advisors. So under the Truss administration, there's been a move to question the Treasury orthodoxy and to perhaps set themselves against the Treasury orthodoxy. And that was certainly part of the presentation of the mini budget last week. In addition to which, she and Kwarteng chose not to accept the offer from the Office for Budget Responsibility for an independent forecast and analysis of the very large fiscal package they were proposing, and they didn't want any advice on what this might mean for UK growth or the UK economy.
Now, a pair of farmer florists working on a tiny scrap of land in North London are raising awareness about the carbon footprint that comes with buying cut flowers throughout the year. Camilla Romain and Marianne Moggendorf, who are founders of Wolves Lane Flower Company, are using principles from the food revolution to address the flower market. Well, Camilla told Hebe about how far behind the multi-billion-pound cut flower industry is and how we can all enjoy flowers sustainably.
We are a micro-urban flower farm. We grow in Wood Green in North London, so that's pretty central for a flower farm. We grow with an entirely organic approach. That means that we don't use any pesticides or put any chemicals or anything nasty into the soil, which means that we have to live with a certain amount of insecurity when it comes to pest damage, but we do that because it's much better for the environment.
Something that really stood out to me was the way in which you speak about greenwashing within the florist community, and how many florists aren't quite aware that greenwashing is taking place. Tell me a bit about that and your stance on that.
You know, when florists who aren't growers and they've got no reason to know about which varieties grow when, but you know, when they go to the market and they're presented with the sort of, you know, sweet shop choice of what's available at the market, a lot of florists assume that what they see at the market is in season. And yes, those flowers are in season, but they're probably in season somewhere quite far away.
So if the flowers are from further afield, abroad, the carbon footprint is larger. But what else does it come with? Are there other issues surrounding getting your flowers from abroad out of season?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, you might go to your local supermarket and you'll see at your local supermarket that you can get roses at any time of the year. Roses in the UK really have their first flush in May, June, and then they have a second flush in September. So the roses that you are able to buy the rest of the year in the UK will come from Ecuador, from Kenya, from Colombia, you know, from pretty far away. And there's various problems with sourcing flowers that have come from that far away. As you correctly say, the carbon footprint, but also not all of the flower farms operating in developing countries, have the same stringent laws that we have in Europe about, protective PPE. If the farm workers are going to have to be spraying chemicals, about welfare, about pay. So it's much more, when we talk about sustainability, yes, we talk about the environment, we also talk about the welfare of the people that grow those flowers. This issue is never binary. Like, we're not saying don't ever buy your flowers from abroad. We're just saying, ask better questions. Where did your flowers come from, and were the people that grew them, were they paid a fair wage?
Greenwashing has really come into the forefront of conversations at the moment with the global warming crisis and the rise of social media. So looking forward, what do you guys suggest happens to try and counteract it? What are you guys doing to educate florists about greenwashing and how they can, ways in which they can get around it?
So in this country, floriculture is decades behind food. When you think about it, you go to the supermarket or you even go to your greengrocers, where all of your veg comes from, because there are laws saying that your veg needs to be labelled. You need to be able to know about the provenance. And the flower industry just isn't set up like that. In fact, if anything, it's set up to do the opposite. So Aalsmeer in the Netherlands, which is the sort of biggest auction market for flowers, which basically feeds all the flowers across Europe. They all go there, and then they get sold and distributed. It's designed not for the consumer not to know about provenance. So we're really behind in that sense in floriculture. And it'd be much better if people could pick up a bunch of flowers and know exactly where they came from.
There we go. That was Camilla from the Wolves Lane Flower Company. Right, it's time for a final break now, but still to come, a new play in South London explores the mental health issues associated with fame through the idea of a beat so addictive the artist questions whether it should be released to the world. See you soon.
From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live.
Welcome back to the final part of London Live News. Now, having starred in the 2017 epic Dunkirk, Finn Whitehead is now taking up the role of a troubled musician in playwright Dawn King's newest production. Addictive Beat explores the idea of a rhythm so addictive that artists who make it doubt whether they should ever release it. Well, the play explores mental health issues associated with fame and the relationship between perceptions of success and happiness. Well, Finn co-stars alongside Boadicea Ricketts, and Paul spoke to them both.
It's 2018 AD. Me and Robbie are in some filthy club, wasted. She's heartbroken, I'm a mess, but tonight, none of that matters. Sweat and tears glitter on our faces, drops flying as we dance. I love you, friend.
It's all about two young musicians who are both sort of going through a bit of a rough time, and sort of reconnect and make a track together that sort of takes over their whole lives and is so addictive that they forget to eat and sleep and everything else, and they have to sort of decide whether or not to release it.
Robbie, she really cares about, I think, her career and her family, but in the process she sort of gets swept up more in her career, and I think in terms of what people think of her aesthetically online, her branding, and I think she starts to sort of forget who she is along the way and what's really important to her, which is like creating music that is meaningful and comes from her heart. And I think it's very easy in this industry to get swept up in any creative industry. I think it's easy to get swept up in what people think of you.
Alex is sort of like he's in a bit of a rut, like he's kind of struggling to find any sort of motivation to make music, and hasn't released any new music for a while, and is sort of just falling into bad habits and becoming quite isolated. And I think that's something that kind of everyone can relate with, that sort of feeling of isolation from the rest of the world, and definitely when you're in a rut with work, I think particularly if you do something creative, it's easy to sort of lose all hope about stuff when you don't work for a while, or you don't get a couple of jobs or whatever it is. So I think there's definitely aspects of his character that I can relate with.
One of the main ideas in this show is this addictive beat itself. Can you talk about this a bit more? You know, what you know about it, what you've learnt about it through playing these characters.
It was like very clear straight away that we could never play anything. Do you know what I mean? We couldn't actually play any music as the addictive beat, because whatever you play is never going to be able to match up to people's expectations, and everyone is always going to be like, "Oh, it's actually not very good." So it was like from the get-go, it was quite clear that we needed to have something that was much more visceral than that. Something that was like very clearly not the piece of music they were working on, but much more like a sort of like representation of what was going on inside them as a response to it.
The show also kind of touches on a lot of, you know, mental health struggles, drug use, addiction, that kind of stuff. Was being able to be involved in something portraying these issues, you know, important to you, and is this one of the reasons why you were interested in the project?
This play talks about there not being necessarily a resolution if you're struggling with something, but what is really important is to talk and communicate with people that you're close to, and to have discussions when you are struggling, and how that can just open up another realm for you to be able to talk through those things and work it out.
One of the big things for Alex in this play is this isolation that he feels. I think the more you can open up a dialogue about how you're feeling, the more you realise that you're not alone.
What's it been like to work together on this?
Terrible.
Terrible. Yeah. Horrible.
No, it's been great. Finn's just so, you know, he's so relaxed and easy, and you can chat through anything with him, anything that you're questioning on the role. You know, he's a great guy.
She's got so much energy, which is kind of like hard to match sometimes. Like because the rehearsals were pretty grueling. We were doing like 6 days a week, and it was like, you know, like a lot of movement. And I was coming in like knackered and coming in like, God, I'm really tired today. I don't know about you lot. And Bo would walk in looking like she'd just got like 12 hours sleep. And like, you know, walk in and be like, morning, I feel like I've got loads of energy today. One day she walked in and went, I've got so much energy today. I feel like I could run for like an hour and I'd still not be tired. And I was there like with a coffee in my hand, with my eyes looking more and more like a basset hound.
There we are, where you can watch Boundless Theatre's Addictive Beat at the Dilston Gallery in Southwark Park until the 7th of October. Finally tonight, London-based singer-songwriter Julie Fox has seen her music featured on ITV2's Love Island, and she was recently shortlisted to play at Glastonbury. Well, her new EP, Love is a Blessing, tells the stories of 5 different characters of love, from a Mother Teresa figure to a stalker. Well, Julie spoke to us about her backstory and the new album's hit single, Running.
I invite the devil into my heart. I signed the papers. I gave him my love, I gave him my life, I gave him my sadness. And then I started to run.
I was born in Poland, so I came to England in 2015, and it was quite crazy story, because I decided almost overnight that I'm coming, and I took £200 in my pocket, which I didn't know it's not much then. I took my guitar and a small amp just in case I run out of money. So you share a car with a stranger, and that's what I did. And it took us 24 hours to get to London, and I arrived around 3 a.m. and I was terrified because it was a completely new place, and I just didn't know what am I gonna do now. I found a job straight away. On the next day, it was my first job at the pub, and I started busking a week after, and from there I started looking for musicians in London, writing my songs, and that's where I am now, almost 8 years later.
I'm running, I'm running, I'm running, I'm running away. I'm running, I'm running, I'm running, I'm running away. I'm running, I'm running, I'm running, I'm running away. I'm running, I'm running, I'm running, I'm running away.
I call it a lost soul, so someone that doesn't really believe that he or she deserves to be loved anymore because of the difficult past or things that happened, or maybe a complex personality. So it's kind of running away from yourself and from good things that are coming to you, but you're just not able to accept it, or you can't really find yourself in a good scenario in life. It was filmed in Keswick in Lake District, and I don't really remember where this place came to me from, but as soon as I saw pictures online, I was like, okay, we're going there. Honestly, we just went to 2 locations and they were so mesmerizing. The views are just amazing. So like you literally stand there and whatever you record is just breathtaking.
There we go, that was Julie Fox, whose new single Running is out now. Well, there's just time for a final look at London's weather now. It's a cloudy evening before a clear sky emerges overnight, temperatures reaching single figures around 7 degrees. The chilly weather continues tomorrow as it's set for heavy rain in the latter stages of the day. Looking ahead to the weekend, we will see some sun again from behind the clouds, with both Saturday and Sunday promising sunny intervals with highs of around 18. Well, that's all for this evening, and you can follow us on social media at London Live. But for now, have a lovely evening, and we'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m.